Welcome back to the Midwest Minute. I'm your host, Ross Thompson, and today I got a good one for you guys. Today in this video, I'm going to be discussing life perspective through a Christian lens and what experiences have led me to think the way I am now. Quick overview on me and my spiritual journey, if you will. I was born and raised Lutheran, went to church school, got baptized, First Communion, whole 9 yards there. Do go to church, not as often as I would like. I'm not going to lie to you guys there. That's solely on me. I need to work on being better with that. Mainly where this story will be taking place is my experience with a Bible group that I joined here in college this past semester. A lot of the stories I'm going to be sharing with you guys have come from that, and I have expanded upon them. So that's kind of a quick overview of that. I've not read the Bible. That is my goal, but it is also a hefty goal. So that's just a work in progress on my part to learn, analyze, understand. But ultimately, the first thing you have to do is open it up, right? So the first thing I want to do here, so I'm going to edit in a couple pictures on the screen probably right now in this time frame. And I want you, if you're sitting at home, to look at them and what are some of the first thoughts that come to your brain, come to your mind when you see these photos, right? What comes to mind? Are you thinking pot of gold, maybe, right? A leprechaun, happiness, maybe. See, if you were like me, when I see these photos, I think of gay, right? I think of LGBTQ plus, minus, divided by sign, subtraction, slash, all the above, right? That's what I think of. I think of pride. I think of gay pride when I see these photos. And I think really what it comes down to the reason why I think this way when I see this is because growing up, I am fairly young, some could say. And these pictures, this idea has been blasted in front of me on my phone, in person, in big cities, on TV. Everywhere you turn, you see these symbols, these colors specifically. You see all this propaganda, all this junk in front of you, right? So when I saw this and when I think of this, these symbols, that's what I turn to. I turn to more of a pride sense. As much as I hate to admit it, that's just the way it is. And maybe some of you thought of that too, right? But maybe you didn't. And if you can see, maybe some of you know where I'm going with this, but if you look at those things, especially the rainbow, and when you look at the rainbow, did you think of God's promise? Like, did you? And be honest with yourself if that was one of your first thoughts, because for me, it wasn't. And whether maybe I wasn't ever taught this, maybe I was and I forgot it, maybe I was and wasn't paying attention in class, church school, what have you, but that wasn't even on my mind at all. The rainbow is God's promise to us. Now let me read something here from Genesis, because it's right in the beginning. Genesis 9, verses 12 through 15. And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life." Now, this was from the NIV, New International Version. If you're reading the King James Version or are familiar with that, the word rainbow is replaced with bow. So if you want to get technical on me there, but bow and rainbow is kind of implied. means the same, right? So when I look at this scripture and read it, context kind of matters. This was right after the flood, 40 days, 40 nights, Noah's Ark, cleansing of the earth. That story, we should all be familiar. I have at least a basic understanding. So a rainbow was set in the sky by God as his promise to us to never let the waters rise again to destroy all of mankind and all of life. Now, how deep is that? How much of a symbol is that rainbow to all of mankind? That's God's symbol to us as his promise not to do that again, right? In me being naive, maybe even was, like I said, wasn't paying attention, or just through the propaganda efforts through this gay rights movement, gay pride movement. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I know that? Now, I'm not blaming others, obviously. Like, I'm not, this is on me. But I'm just saying, when I was approached in our Bible study with this and this thought of pride and the rainbow as God's promise to us, that was something that just clicked in my soul. And I was like, holy smokes, that's deep. Like, that is very deep, because as you may know, I'm not trying to belittle anyone here. A lot of speculation with pride kind of goes against God, goes against human order, human nature. It does. So in that sense, it is demonic, right? When you take God's promise and you flip it for your own cause, for your own propaganda effort, that in a sense is kind of demonic to me, because you're taking God's promise and you're flipping it around and slapping it right back in his face, right back in all of our faces. And I'm ashamed to admit that, yeah, I didn't know that. I'm not, from now on, I'm gonna be like, holy smokes, that's God's promise that they're mocking. Now there is, before I get, keep going on this, the rainbow flag, that's kind of what I'm basing on. The rainbow, didn't know that as rainbow flag, like that's the propaganda I'm going off of here. Was created back in 1978 by a guy named Gillette Baker. He's not a known Satanist, nor would that ever be published. I'm not saying he had bad intentions. I'm not saying even the gay pride movement has bad intentions with using the rainbow. But I'm just saying the devil does. If God has good intentions, the devil has bad intentions. And what is the devil's goal, right? To diminish the Christianity population, to diminish God's power on its people. And this is just one way, right? This is one way that Christianity is slipping out of the cracks of the commonwealth of the people by not thinking in a Christian way. I'm sure there's more on this subject, but this is just meant to get you thinking. Like I said, maybe you did know this, maybe you didn't. I didn't, and this was not to be dramatic, but it was kind of a life-changing moment, because I just felt it deep down. I was like, holy, this is deep. When you're talking about God, it is, you do feel it in yourself. And I mean, if you die, you go to heaven, being naive is not an excuse, right? It's not an excuse. So, I thought I'd get this out there and get you thinking, and what other ways is this happening in your own life that you can say, yeah, I didn't think of it this way. I need to be better at this. And I have two more examples here. And the next one would be luck. So in our Bible study, I'm not going to name names. We go around, we read some verses, we discuss them, our thoughts, and one gentleman was saying, how lucky he was to have so and so and have the life he does, and he's just, all around lucky compared to other people. And another gentleman who's pretty vocal and well spoken in the club says, well, what is luck? Like, what do you mean by luck? And they knew each other, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. Good old fashion showdown here, getting a little argument. It wasn't argumentative, but he says, what is luck? We're at a Bible study, talking about God. God has a plan. Like, what is luck? If God has a plan, is there luck? And I remember sitting there, and these two were months apart situation. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, holy smokes, that's deep too when you get down to it. Because, yeah, how many times do people get illness, cancer, get in a car crash, lots of things, good or bad, in your life, and someone asks you, oh, good thing you made it through that car crash alive, and the person responds, oh, luck was on my side that day, or I just got lucky. And it's that type of mentality that I'm trying to spread awareness here, because did you get lucky in a car crash, or was it God's will to not let you die yet? Did you get lucky with your cancer treatments, or was it God saying that your time is not over yet? Proverbs 16 verse 31 says, the lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from the Lord. Now, we're also taught that the Lord is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Might have butchered that third one, but if you know, you know, which means he has the power to be anywhere at any time. He has the power to do anything at any time, unlimited power, and he has infinite understanding and awareness. So if we're taught that he has all these, if he's these three things, yeah, God does have a plan for us. He does have a journey for us, and he knows when we're going to die. He knew us before we were born. He's going to know us after we die. So it's the idea that when you look at situations in your life and you think you got here because of luck, that's the perception in your life that I'm trying to spread awareness and maybe even change, because I believe if you can change that, oh yeah, I'm lucky that I didn't die in that car crash, to God saved me yesterday from that tree. That not only has an impact on you, but it also has an impact on the person you're talking with. Right? If you bring up God to someone else, or this idea that you were saved by God to someone else, they're going to really think, oh yeah, maybe you really did. Maybe that's going to get them thinking to maybe pray more, or go to church more, or open up the Bible more, or maybe it even gets you to open up. But if you go around and just saying, yeah, I'm all lucky, that I was lucky and that was it, right? That doesn't better you. That doesn't better the person you're talking to. And honestly, it kind of gets you farther away from God, because you don't believe in him in a way that you think luck exists, right? And I might be looking into these things a little bit too deeply, right? And maybe getting a little bit too dramatic with these two perspectives so far, but these were real world to me, at least. Everyone's different, and maybe you believe different things, and you know what, so be it. But I just wanted to spread awareness, because it changed me, and it really, maybe you've had that moment in your life where something said something and your mind just flipped, like instant 180. You felt it, and for sure these two are mine. And with these two, I got to thinking of, okay, well, what else, right? Like, what else am I missing? What else can what else is coming across? How else is Christianity slipping away from the people? And, you think of normalizing the word devil, demons, Satan, movies about that stuff. That's kind of normalizing it. Music, normalizing it. Names of cities, parks, forests, like what have you. To me, normalizing that is just not a good thing, not beneficial. But like that would be the most, niche reference I could come up with. And another thing that kind of we just got done with is how many Christians, mind you, how many Christians say happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. And on like a Christmas card, maybe happy holidays, or, at work, happy holidays, in person, happy holidays. Like, how many times do you hear that? I hear that a lot. I hear both, right? So I'm not going to, but I hear both, but I do hear happy holidays a lot. And it could be because people don't know really what it means. Maybe they're lumping Christmas and New Year's into happy holidays. Maybe some do know the full meaning, that it includes Hanukkah, Diwali, it includes all these other religions. And when I got thinking about this, like, it really doesn't sit well with me either to replace happy holidays with Merry Christmas. Like, I'm a Christian. We celebrate the birth of Jesus. I'm going to say Merry Christmas. I might slip up and say happy holidays, but that's because of what we've been trained. But there's a time to be politically correct. And I believe that time was 5 years ago, right? I think the time now is we shouldn't have to apologize for being Christians. We shouldn't have to include these other religions that we don't even care about. Like, let's be real here. I'm not like, come on, I don't care about these other holidays. And I look, I got a calendar recently for 2026, and I scroll through it, and there's this name that like is foreign to me, and I'm like, what even is this? Why is this on a calendar in America? And it's some Muslim holiday. And it's like, yeah, no, like, we don't need that. Like, I'm sorry, we do not need that. And this ties into happy holidays. Is it was created as to encompass, Christmas, Diwali, Hanukkah, what have you, in that time frame, to be, politically correct, not offend anyone. It's just easy to say. Now, do I think a lot of people that use happy holidays is doing it as a slap in the face to Christianity? No. I don't believe that, because, like I said, a lot of people don't know, or it's just easy to say, or they're lumping in New Year's, what have you. But it goes back to these perspectives that if you don't know, you're going to keep doing it. And when you get to a place of understanding where your whatever, of of the decisions that you make and what they mean and how they, get interpreted in a Christian sense, yeah, I mean, you're going to stop saying it. And do I think people that say it are the devil? No, like I said, but it's just something to think about. And that's what my goal is with this whole entire podcast type setup, whatever you want to call it here, is to get people in the right mindset to think differently in a way that benefits their life. And when I think of that, I think of a really good movie, shocker, The Lorax. And one of my favorite quotes of all time comes from that movie. And the Lorax, for context, is talking to the Onceler. I'm not going to explain the whole plot here, but he asks the Onceler, he says, which way does a tree fall? And, I don't know what answer he gives, or shrugs it off. And the Lorax says, a tree falls the way it leans. Right? And that's really deep. A tree falls the way it leans. So how you can relate that to your life is if you hang around with people that don't think holy per se, use a lot of swear words, a lot of Lord's name in vain, maybe does a lot of illegal stuff, or lives a life, doesn't have to be any of those, but just lives a life that you do not want to live, pretty soon you're going to be in them, become them in a sense, right? Like, I'm not saying if you are with someone that drinks every day till they're drunk, and I'm not saying you're not going to be a drunk with them, but I'm saying you're going to be in that habit of degeneracy to where you think it's normal, right? So when you think of a tree falls the way it leans, you want to find your people, like I did in that Bible study. I found a group of guys that we like to read the Bible and analyze it and better our life. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be making this video right now. You guys wouldn't be getting this information from me, at least. I would have never thought of these situations differently. I mean, maybe I would have known about God's promise. I would have liked to thought I did, but not this early, maybe. Luck, happy holidays. Like, these are things that I wouldn't have been able to think of without these conversations. So you want to find someone or a group of people in your life that will better you and also better them, right? You want it to be kind of competitive, not really competitive in your own way. Like, you all want to strive for a better life, in that sense. And I'll end on this too, because I am passionate about this topic, and there, you can go on and on. I don't have the stories or the time on my thing to go on and on, but I'm going to end with this because I think it kind of relates to what I said, and just a food for thought. It's from Alex Jones, so just hear me out, and you just got to listen to the quote and just take it however you want, but I'm going to say it. And he always says, or you always know the greatest saying, that the devil's greatest trick is to deceive the world that he doesn't exist, right? That's the devil's greatest trick. But Alex Jones says that's his second greatest trick. His greatest trick is to conceive or deceive the world that good doesn't exist. That good does not exist. When you look on your phone, you see all this stuff on the news, all this degeneracy, all this killing, blood, rioting, what have you. It's a lot of negative stuff. But just remember, there is good in this world. And it brings me back as another quote from Lord of the Rings, from Sam, Wise Gamgee. I'm going to nerd out here a little bit, but he says there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. And that hits hard. There is good in this world, and it is worth fighting for. And I think if we can have these conversations with each other, and if you see this and have this conversation with someone that maybe is not watching this, and just see what they think, and just bounce ideas off of each other, and go from there and build that relationship, and just stay open-minded and keep an open mind with everything, political, biblical, at the job site or whatever. But yeah, no, that's a lot of information, and you just have to keep an open mind, and just keep looking out for things like this, where you can see in your own life areas that you can improve or get in a different or better mindset about life and about God. As always, folks,